week with Cam Maybin. Let's do it big on a Friday. And also, before we get into anything juicy, I do have a rumor to spread. There's going to be another territory. That's all I'm going to say. There's another local team territory coming soon. Days away from announcement. So everyone just look out for that. The only hint I'll give is there's one of the most devoted FT fans calling for this particular type of show, and his wish has been answered. That's it. I'll explain to you when this isn't on national television. Why, you're confused by that?
I'm just trying to think who it would be.
When I tell you in our chat, you'll say, okay. But just a little teaser.
Fan or is it someone else?
No, it's a fan. It's one of our top fans asking for a particular type of show. That is the hint. But don't say anything because we're almost there. And I need to get Cam's take on this little walk-off situation in Seattle. So let's charge the damn mound.
He's charging the mound.
By the way, we have people potentially walking through the back of AJ's shot, which is kind of fun. I'm into that.
Lots of people. There's lots of people going to be walking by, and they all look at me like I'm crazy. Like, here comes one right now. Watch. Hey, buddy.
I'm pretty sure that guy just came through. I thought that guy just walked through.
Maybe. I don't know. Listen, when you're in a bunker and you're, in an undisclosed location, you're not allowed to tell people what you're doing.
Just tell them we're 1 out away from sweeping Seattle with a 2-run lead. And instead, 3-run score. He clears the bases. 4-3 dub. What would you say to your outfielders on a case like this, Cam?
You know what? That one right there would have gave me nightmares at night. You know, that old nightmare when you're sleeping and a ball's hit and all of a sudden when you're going to catch it, there's like 100 fly balls coming out of the air. It's a nightmare I used to have, a real nightmare. And I think right there, that would have gave me nightmares right there. That's a play that you got to make right there to seal the series sweep, bring out the brooms against an offense that has been struggling. But I also give the Mariners credit. That last inning, they did a really good job. Luke Raley had a swinging bunt against Tyler Holton, who's been phenomenal the last 2 seasons. Will Vest has been great for the Tigers. Some quality at-bats from Polanco to get on. So some quality at-bats right there. But oddly, when I watched this last night, Scotty, I'm looking at this offense, and I'm looking at the guys that came to the plate, and I'm going, how can this offense not produce more? Even when you look at the additions, like a Rosarina, Turner. I'm watching these guys come up, and it's like Polanco, Raleigh, Rosarina, Turner. Like, there's damage in that lineup. So this was great for them. They needed it. The offense needed it. But, man, when I look at this offense, not just on paper, I'm going, they have to give you more, man, when you look at what this pitching staff has done. But that play right there, man, that would have haunted me, for days right there. If I'm an outfielder, young outfielder trying to come up and make a play, that's a tough one. I know AJ would have had some kind words for me after the game.
First of all, let me just say this. That ball can't get by the outfielder. I'm sorry. You either got to catch it or it can't get by you. You accept a single. You can't let that ball get by you. Because if that ball gets by you, the game's over. So you either got to knock it down or catch it. He looked like he just whiffed it. So I give him credit for making an attempt, but it wasn't – he just whiffed it. But listen, if you're on the team and that happens, I guarantee you I'm like, catch the bleeping ball or knock the bleeping ball down. What are you doing
Step
out
on
there?
it.
Like we all make mistakes, but that ball you just have to know that ball can't get by you. And I'm sorry, I know he dove and he just missed it. Right, Cam? Looked like he just missed it. Like he went like this.
And I'm gonna be real with you. That's not even as an outfielder. What you want to do on that play is get your eyes closest to the ball as you can. That's really, I'm being really hard, and I'm not using that hard on guys. That's not that tough of a play, Scotty. It's not. Like AJ said, you have to understand the moment. And if anything, you go into a slide and you keep that ball in front of you. But that's a play where I think you might even just take an extra step and just catch it standing up. I don't even think he really had to dive. I think that ball stayed up a little bit longer than he may have realized. So I think he misplayed it. And I think if you ask him if we heard it, I'm sure he'll say that's a play that he has to make. But AJ's right. At the end of the day, you got to keep that ball in front of you, at least give you a chance to go into extra innings. Because Will Vest made some good pitches, and it gives Seattle's offense credit.
His reaction summed it up, though. Will Vesta's reaction was like, he's like, wait.
Are you kidding me?
He was like, wait. Yeah, pretty much. But, I mean, you play to the scoreboard, right? This goes back to you play to the scoreboard, and you have to know the situation. If you have a 2-run lead and there's 1 runner on and 2 outs and you make that play and you miss it, you have to understand it's probably going to be a triple on a run score, but you're still winning. But if you do this with the bases loaded and there's 3 runs, they're all going to score and the game's over. You just can't let it. You got to live to fight another day. You cannot just give up your body and give it up. And listen, I know he probably should have caught it, but mistakes happen. But mistakes happen. That's it. We're going to leave it at that. He had a rough night. It cost him. The Tigers aren't in the playoff race, but it sure helps the Mariners.
Yeah.
It gives Scott Service some credit. I can be hard on him sometime about his managerial decision making, but great job right there to bring in a pinch runner for Jorge Polanco, a guy who has decent wheels. So to bring in Bliss right there, a guy who literally is the guy that you want running the last leg of the relay, that was a great job of bringing a guy who has wheels in right there. So you got to give him credit too. That play isn't made, but you got to have dudes.
Cam, I'm scoring from first on that ball.
AJ, you're not scoring from first at all.
I'm scoring from first on that ball. And right
they're
field,
holding you up.
Trust me.
They're holding you up coming around second, AJ. Cut it out.
No chance. No chance. I'm scoring on that ball. I don't care. You could have had Carl Lewis over there and he would have scored. Or you could have had someone like super slower. I don't even know. Like
Vogelbach.
Butler over there and he would have scored.
Yeah.
As soon as that ball gets by, the guy on first scores automatically.
Okay. So you know what, AJ? Then you know what? Even better. I take that credit back from Scott Service.
No, I'm not saying that. I get what you're saying, but come on. I mean, Bliss scores backwards on that ball, easy.
Yeah, he is. He was flying. He wasn't even close.
Yeah, Ryan Blade with a tough day, but that's one of those games that you're going to look back on. If you're a Mariners fan and you edge the Astros by a game and that gets you into the playoffs, you're going to say, remember that play from Blade? Because it was gifted, right? The Mariners were pretty much playing ball to get swept here, and they at least get themselves back to level in the division now. With the Astros, they're even at the top. Let's go to the San Diego Padres. They win again. I am pissed personally, though. AJ, can we hit Mike Schultz again? Because I thought he made a promise that if they won, he was going to come on the show.
He did, but listen, I'm not going to get on him because he said he could come on next week.
It's the first day of a series. That's fine.
It was first day of the series, and he wasn't sure if the meetings would match up, but he said more than likely if they won, he would come on. So, but the meeting times, because the first day of a series didn't match up. This is a great game, though, because they were down. Bednar had some control problems. They took their walks. And it just, you see Bednar get pulled out of the game. And they got, Higgy coming through right here big time for the old Padres. Beating out a double play because we all know catchers are the best athletes and the fastest guys on the field. And then O'Neal Cruz throwing it 170 to Rowdy and throwing it away in the winning run score. But yeah, it was a great comeback, but it was helped by the Pirates because Bednar has struggled with command. He blew one last night. He blew one again, or he blew one 2 nights ago, and he blew the one last night, and then Rise with this double to kind of put the game away. But it was actually a fun game to watch. The crowd was into it. Everyone was like, all right, Bednar, they're cheering for him. And then walk, double play ball, not a double play, go ahead, and then boom, game over. Padres win again.
It's becoming a theme, Cam. We talk about the Padres winning super close games that they didn't pull off yesterday. And also, shame on me, I didn't realize it's Mike Schultz's birthday today. He definitely doesn't have to join us today. All right, so we'll get him next week. Let him, if he's got an extra 15, 20 minutes at any point in his day on his birthday, I would prefer that he, I don't know, does something else. Like have a glass of wine or something like that. Do something cool.
I guess you know what? Happy birthday to Mike Schultz. And a great job by the Padres. This is the difference between this Padres team this season. And we talked about it yesterday. They're winning those tight games, whether they're helped out by the opposing team. They're finding a way to win those tight games. But for me, I guess I'm asking AJ this question. I'm looking at it right here, AJ. And I get it. You said that Bednar has been, a little up and down here of late. I'm looking at these numbers: 325 saves, 2.58 career ERA, 1,219 strikeouts. The dude's still throwing 100 to 105. I've been literally mind blown the last 2 years. Are they just trying to not allow him to get his save numbers for some reason? They want to keep him out of the history books, which he'll always be in the history books, but they're trying. Why is he not saving? Why is he not closing the game? And his control has been there. I'm confused. Can you help me out, AJ? That's my question right now. Pirates are in the race. Put the best guy at the end of the game, and that's Aroldis Chapman. Who would you rather face?
I mean, I'd rather face Bednar. I was left-handed. I faced Chapman though. He never
Listen,
struck
right-handed. Hey, right-handed. I've got good numbers against Geraldus. I still rather face Bednar. It's like
Of
I'm
course.
just watching the team who's right in it, and I'm like, you got a guy who's going out here who's dealing every time you give him the ball, more times than not. And he's done it the last 2 years. Yo, this is the guy I want closing the game down. He's got a 325 saves in his career. He's a future Hall of Famer. What are we doing?
I wouldn't go future Hall of Famer, but I would say he's got a lot of saves, and right now he's pitching better. So you got to make that move. But then the question becomes, if you're Derek Shelton, what do you do with Bednar, right? What do you do with Bednar, and how do you not lose him for not only this year but next year also when Chapman's probably not back? So I understand what Derek Shelton's doing, but I don't know. If you're trying to make a run, I think you have to make that move now. Like I said, Bednar's blown 2 in a row. He's got the ERA over 5. It's been a tough little bit here. Remember Rowdy early in the year standing up for him when he blew a save or two. So, yeah, I don't know because I'm not in that fight every day. Maybe Chapman said, hey, I want to pitch the 8th. I want to pitch the 7th.
Right.
The 8th. We just don't know that answer. So, yeah, of course, everyone would be like, yeah, man, let's go to Aroldis Chapman. That's the easy answer. But if you're not in there, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's some past precedent right now with Bednar being their closer for years, all-star closer, even though this year hasn't been as good. And then Chapman's definitely had his craziness, his control issues at times, and it usually pops up. It lasts for a couple weeks. So you kind of don't want to mess with a good thing if it's working in a certain role right now, but I get it. So, all right, let's step aside.
Hey, I feel you. You got me in that box. I'm gonna tell you who I don't want to face. Not right now.
Yeah.
Not in the last 2 seasons of watching. Listen, they all give it up from time to time. We've seen that. There's no perfect closer, but right now, nobody wants to see that, bro. You watch that Manny Machado at bat the other day. It's like that's the dude. If I'm the most confident right now, if I'm trying to get my team into the playoffs, I'm putting feelings aside right now. That's just my thing. I'm not managing and I'm not making calls because of feelings and what possibly 325 saves. He's got a pretty decent track record.
And it's coming at a bad time. That's the problem for Bednar and the Pirates because they're, falling out of the playoff picture now. I mean, we talked about this yesterday, but I don't think they did enough at the deadline. But, they're hoping, I guess, for next year. They'll spend a bunch of money this offseason. I'm kidding on that. But they are a good team. They should they should be in a better spot. But anyway, let's talk about another wild card contender, kind of surprise wild card contender, the Red Sox. Up next, Pete Abraham from the Boston Globe on FT. Be right back. Pop quiz. America's #1 meal kit is
HelloFresh.
Bingo. That is correct. And why is that the case?
Because it's easy, delicious, and fun to make.
Perfect. Nailed it. Pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes. What if you're a picky eater like me? AJ, what do you do?
You order HelloFresh, and they say, screw your picky eating. You're going to eat what we give you.
No.
And you're going to like it. And it's going to be
they
love it.
They say we have a changing menu of 50 recipes. So if you're picky and annoying, Braun, then it's going to take you a while to get through all the recipes and you're going to find what you want. Okay. And they'll probably, if it's AJ, he'd probably also say you should use the code FTKids. You have to go HelloFresh.com/FTKids because you can get 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months. And he probably thinks I'm a 10-year-old with how picky I am. So this fits perfectly to me. And you also have the recipes easy to follow. Everything comes with the ingredients set to themselves. So you can just, pour in whatever you need to make a very easy meal. Most of them in, 20, 30 minutes tops. And most of that's just whatever the meal is getting cooked. So the actual preparation time is very easy. Choose your delivery day, open your box, cook and eat. And for a limited time, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/FTKids and you can unlock the exclusive offer of 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while the subscription is active. FT fam, I'm telling you, if you do this, you get to the checkout cart, you're going to be like, wow, that's a lot of food for not a lot of money. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FTKids. Back in a moment with Pete Abraham. All right, here we go. Pete Abraham joining us right now from the Boston Globe. Pete, great to see you. How's everything? And are you pleased with the progress of the Boston Red Sox so far this season? A team to cover that you probably didn't anticipate to be in this spot.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be covering playoff implication games in August with this team when we came out of spring training, given all the issues that they had. But Alex Cora's done a great job. The pitching has overachieved up until maybe the last couple weeks, and they're in a pretty good position even now with the pitching where it is.
What do you think gets them into the playoffs? What has to go right the next month and a half? Like, what is the pathway, and what would burn them if they don't make it in?
Well, it's really all about the rotation. They have a 5.88 ERA coming out since the All-Star break. They've got to fix that. James Paxton's been good for them in 2 starts. He looks like he was a good pickup. The 2 biggest things is they need to get Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck back on track. Both of those guys have had a rough time since the All-Star break. They're both over their career number of innings that they had previously. Now, they say they feel fine. It's just a matter of kind of getting their mechanics back straightened out. But that has to happen soon because both of those guys have had some issues since the break. And it's led to, Nick Pavetta's taking a start off to try to reset. So they've got some issues in the rotation. They've been able to out-hit a lot of their problems. They were 4-2 on their last road trip because they were just crushing the ball. But that's a hard way to win for a long term.
Hey, Pete, Cam Maybin here. I want to stay on that offense because, when I look at this lineup, this roster, Romy Gonzalez, Danny Jansen, Wilyer Abreu, Wong, Dom Smith having a great last month. How surprising has it been with the production of this offense, and what is the mindset? What is the team approach? Because it seems like all of these guys are staying within themselves and playing their best brand of baseball.
Yeah, the approach has been, especially with Tristan Casas on the IL, that the one guy they know they've kind of got every day is Rafael Devers. And other than that, it's been a lot of moving parts. Alex Cora's been moving guys around the outfield, moving guys around the infield. They'll bring in a pinch hitter that leads to 5 defensive changes on the team, and everybody just kind of rolls with it. And they know Devers is going to hit 4th. We've had Connor Wong hitting 3rd in some games, which is something you never expected. Romy Gonzalez hit 3rd the other day. They've had different leadoff hitters. There's a lot of different things that have gone on. Jaron Duran also obviously has been a constant as well. But different days, it's different guys. Dom Smith's been great the last month and a half. Wilyer Abreu is going to get Rookie of the Year votes, I think, and so will Ceddanne Rafaela. So they've gotten a lot of production, I think, that we didn't necessarily see coming out of spring training. And not only has it been guys who have been good, they've been good pretty consistently.
All right, so how does Alex Cora do it? I got to ask, Pete. How does Alex Cora do it? Because going into this year, people are like, this team's going to be okay. They can't really pitch that great. They don't really hit that great. You look up, you're right there for a wild card. They didn't really make any major moves, during the trade deadline or even in the offseason. So how does Alex Cora do it? Is it just motivation? Is it communication? What's his secret?
I think communication is a big part of it. The guys know the lineup for the next day before they leave the park the previous night. They know what Alex is going to expect of them. There's a lot of buy-in into, you might play different positions. You might get pinch hit for during the game. You're not necessarily going to hit where you hit the day before. If it's a lefty, you might be out of the lineup. You might be down in the lineup. And getting everybody to sort of buy into that for the good of the team, you have to maybe sublimate some of your ego and not show up every day thinking you're going to be in the lineup necessarily. And he's managed to, I think with the bullpen especially, maneuver the bullpen in such a way that it's covered up their issues with the rotation. He's gone to the bullpen early a few times. He's had certain guys that he's leaned on over the course of the season, and they've all produced really well for them. He only puts Kenley Jansen in certain situations. They've survived the loss of Chris Martin, who came back the other night and looked dominant. So a lot of it's been, I think, getting the guys in the lineup to understand it's not going to be the same thing every day, and getting the guys in the bullpen to understand that other than Kenley, there's really nobody who has the same role.
Pete, you talk about these chess moves, and I've always said that Alex Cora is one of the smartest baseball minds that I've ever been around. Himself, Carlos Beltran, AJ, guys like that. If they find a way, when you look at coming into this season, what the outlook was, if they find a way to get into the playoffs, I know there have been a lot of managers doing a great job. Do we put Alex Cora in that manager of the year category? And what are you guys feeling? Because he has done a great job of maneuvering pieces, like you said, and mixing and matching and making the right moves.
Yeah, there were 6 of us who did preseason predictions for the Boston Globe, and not one of us picked the Red Sox being in the playoffs. And that wasn't something that was outlandish at the time. I mean, nobody thought they were a playoff team. People were picking them to come in last, and here they are competing, not just competing for a wild card, but I think they're only 5.5 games out of the division. So all of this is very unexpected. And if they get in the playoffs, they're going to be really dangerous because Alex is an all-in guy in the playoffs. He'll tell the starters, have your spikes on. I might use you during the game. You don't expect it. They did that in 2018. That's how they won. They had a good run a couple years ago when it really wasn't that expected. Got to the ALCS before they lost to the Astros. If they get in the playoffs, they're going to be a tough out.
Hey, Pete, are White Sox fans embracing, or sorry, we're talking so much White Sox. They probably are. This question does apply. White Sox fans are embracing the Red Sox because there is one team that's competitive this year. Are Red Sox fans embracing this team? You know, there aren't a ton of household names. I know there was a lot of frustration, not only about this past offseason, but you're seeing it in the attendance at the end of last year. Where are we at on how Red Sox fans feel? Because in my mind, if I was a Red Sox fan and I'm demanding a lot, I'm not, but I would be like, okay, we're a wild card team with this. What if we did a little bit? Like, what if we had another superstar or two coming into this situation?
Yeah, you know, here's what's been weird. They've had 4 sellouts all year. That's it. They sold out opening day. They sold out 3 Yankee games, and they sold out a game last week when Seattle was in town. That's been it. I mean, usually you're talking about you can't get a ticket to Fenway Park, and it's been like that. And the other thing that's been a little strange is we've had weekend series at home where there were, I think, as many fans of the other team as there were of the Red Sox. Fenway Park has become like the place to go if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan and they're there for the weekend. That's been kind of strange too. But I have sensed since the All-Star break, the fan base is more behind this team. There is a little bit about what you were talking about, Scott, that people are like, how good could they have been if they had made some better moves in the offseason? Too late to do that now, but it is a hard team not to root for. I mean, they've got guys like Willie Abreu the other day, hits 2 home runs after his grandmother passed away. He's crying in the dugout. They put him up against a lefty, which they normally don't do. He hits the second home run. There's been a lot of good things going on with this team that I think from a fan's perspective, you should get behind them. But it'll be interesting to see over this next month and a half what Fenway Park is like because it did start to change during the last homestand.
So, Pete, when you have a team that's having a lot of success by committee, you know, a lot of it has to do with Alex Cora, clearly, but who's the player? Who's the guy that you've seen that really kind of galvanizes the troops, really gets guys to continue to play together and not allow that selfish mentality to kind of, you know, find its way in? Who have you seen other than Rafael Devers? We know he's, you know, the guy that's making all the money. Who have you seen really kind of take onus of that leadership role?
Rob Refsnyder, without a doubt, it's Rob Refsnyder. A guy who's a platoon guy against lefties. Every night in the clubhouse after the game, he's sitting in front of his locker, and Jaron Duran is there. Connor Wong is there. Other young guys are there talking to him about the game. They sit down and break down the game. They talk about what happened in that game, what might happen tomorrow. It's definitely Rob, and he's not a guy, a guy who's bounced around a bit, a platoon guy. He's never been necessarily an everyday player. He's been very productive for the Sox this year. He's played around different spots in the outfield. He's the guy in the clubhouse, I think, that's held it all together among the position players. But I think that's translated to the rest of the team too.
That's good. That's good to hear, Pete. It's good that players are doing that again because players used to not do that the last few years. You hear about them hurrying back to the hotel and, hurrying back home so they can play video games. So that's good to hear that somebody's doing it. And by the way, did you know it was Craig Breslow's birthday? Did you wish him a happy birthday yesterday?
I did not know that. No, Craig was
teammate.
I think that's the other thing too is Craig played here. And I think when you have the chief executive guy is a guy who played in Boston, I think that makes a big difference because he understands sort of what people are expecting, what the clubhouse is expecting. And he could have gone a couple different ways at the trade deadline, but he did do something, a few things really to help this team. And I think that really resonated in the clubhouse.
Okay, good. I played there too, Pete, so that makes me a perfect candidate for GM. So, and Craig and I played together, so maybe I can be the assistant GM.
Well, I mean, they're still looking for spots, I think, AJ, so you never know.
So I should reach out. I'll call Craig after the show and be like, hey, buddy, remember me? We played together like 3 months before Pete bashed me and got me sent out of town. That's okay. I get it. Hey, on a serious note, though, the Red Sox ownership, Fenway Sports Group, they own Liverpool, they own the Red Sox, they own NASCAR, they own the Penguins. Are they really going to try and buy the Celtics?
I don't think so. I think if they were to make an NBA play, they're involved with LeBron James. He's one of the limited partners in Fenway Sports Group. And there's a lot of talk that LeBron wants to be involved with a Las Vegas NBA expansion team at some point. I think if they were to go the NBA route, it would be in Vegas and it would be somehow partnered with LeBron. I don't know if that'll ever get to that point. They're doing a lot with golf right now too, but I don't think that it would be the Celtics. I think it would be an expansion team that would be in Vegas.
Breaking news. I didn't know there was going to be an expansion team.
Well, there's been talk about if the NBA were to expand, Vegas might be one of the spots, and that LeBron would want to be involved in that from an ownership level standpoint. LeBron's been involved with the Red Sox or Fenway Sports Group for, I think it's at least 5 or 6 years now. A lot of Maverick Carter's with them. There's a lot of LeBron's guys that are with them. So I think that would be the way that – I don't know that LeBron would want to own the Celtics. I don't know that the Celtics would want LeBron owning the Celtics. But an expansion team, I think, would make sense.
Hey, Pete, are there any other extension candidates? It seems like part of Craig Breslow's playbook early on here was also to identify some players that they would sign up long term. And I think since he's joined, it's been Ceddanne Rafaela and Brian Bayo.
Yeah, both of those guys. I would think it would be Jaron Duran for sure, and Tristan Casas would be the other guy. That makes sense. I mean, a center fielder, a first baseman, 2 guys who came up through the organization. Neither of those guys have said that there have been talks so far. I would also think Tanner Houck would be somebody too. I mean, an all-star, kind of coming into his own as a pitcher, another guy who came up through the organization, but they haven't had talks with him yet either last time I checked with Tanner. So, but I think those 3 guys would definitely be candidates.
Hey, Pete, last question for me. I just saw recent news, Vaughn Grissom, his rehab stint, they decided to go ahead and option him down. Any news on that?
No, that's been a whole strange thing this year. They expected he was going to be the second baseman, and he's had some hamstring problems in both legs, and they sent him down. It wasn't so much to get ready to come back to play in the big leagues. It was to get stronger, to try to get a base under him and just sort of develop more physically, I think, before they bring him back to the big leagues. I don't think it was any sort of lack of production during his rehab stint. I think it was just more they wanted him to spend more time in the minors and prepare his body more for the grind in the big leagues. I think he's going to be back before the end of the year, but I can't say that for sure because they've been doing okay with second base, mixing and matching with the guys they have.
One quick follow-up, my last one, Pete. Do you think there's any Chris Sale trade regret, or do you think that it would not have played out this way? I mean, I know it's like asking kind of a ridiculous question, but has anyone said, I'm sure around the ballpark, like, have you seen Chris Sale this year?
Yeah, well, there's, of course, you hear from a lot of fans like, oh, look at Chris Sale. He's been so great for the Braves. When they traded him, I didn't get one email, one tweet, nothing that said, what are they doing trading Chris Sale? Because he had a really rough couple of years after the 18 championship, and nothing that was his fault. It was Tommy John surgery. It was elbow issues. He got hit by a pitch and had, broke bones. I mean, it wasn't like it was stuff that he wasn't in good shape. It was all just weird stuff that had happened to him. I don't think anybody thought this is crazy. I think everybody thought, okay, we got a young guy back who could be the second baseman. Chris gets to go to Atlanta and have a fresh start. And I didn't get one bit of feedback at that time that what are they doing trading Chris Sale? And now, of course, people are like, well, how come they didn't know Chris Sale was going to be good? I don't think the Braves knew he was going to be this good. I mean, he's got a chance to win the NL Cy Young Award the way he's pitched. He probably should. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think people thought if he could have, be 75% of what he used to be, that'll really help the Braves. He's been 100% of what he used to be.
Yeah, I liked the trade for both sides at the time. I felt like even if Sale went back, something was going to happen. It was just getting bit by, I would say a fair share of the injury bug and just unluckiness at that point. And I like Grissom. I know, it hasn't been the year for him, but you're right. It's very easy in sports to just be like, wait, what? They traded away Chris Sale? I didn't want them to do that. Like, really?
And I think at the time, Vaughn Grissom, people thought, Brian Sticker told me this is a young guy who's going to be a really good player. Juan Washington told me the same thing when I talked to him. They thought this was a guy who had just been blocked by Arcia and other guys in their infield. All he needed was a chance, and that he could be a good player with the Red Sox. I still think he can be a good player with the Red Sox, but you can't go back now and say, well, what were the Red Sox thinking? Because Chris had such a bad time. He was ready for a fresh start. They were ready to not necessarily be wondering every day if he was going to be on the IL or could he pitch the next game. So, good for Chris. That's the way I look at it because none of this was his fault. It was all just strange stuff that happened to him.
All right, Pete, before we let you go, yes or no answer. Do the Red Sox make the playoffs?
No, because their rotation has really been having some issues. They're running into innings. I don't know that the rotation can hold up for the rest of the year and get them in. I hope it does, but I don't know that it can.
So you don't believe in
Yeah.
Hulkamania, okay?
Hey,
Yeah.
I love Tanner. He's been a great guy to cover, but the last few starts for him and Cutter Crawford have really not been great. And I don't think I think it's just because they're throwing more innings than they ever have in their life. And there's a month and a half of the season left. I just don't know how that they can compensate for that and figure out a way to run guys out there every 5 days. Unless, I don't know, unless James Paxton or whatever it is, they're going to have to find help from somewhere. Maybe it's Rich Hill. I don't know. Somebody. I don't know.
Rich Hill, AJ. 40
There he is.
million-year-old
The guy
Rich
that will
Hill.
not retire. I mean,
Do the
He's
rest
throwing
of it.
Saturday for
It's today's Jamie Moyer. He's still
Yeah.
kicking.
He's
he
going to
goes out,
sign
puts a
somewhere.
4.5 ERA, and someone signs him.
He's throwing Saturday for scouts in Massachusetts. So
There you go.
we'll see.
He's going to sign. I'll take that prediction's
Oh,
an
no.
easier one. Yeah.
He's definitely
He'll sign.
be-
He'll sign
be-
somewhere.
Yeah.
Too many
he'll be with
teams need
somebody
innings.
next week. Yep.
Yep. Pete, this was great. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's good to see you again. Everyone give Pete a follow at Pete Abe. He's great on there. Check out his work in the Boston Globe. And we'll catch you maybe in October for a playoff conversation about the Red Sox. Hopefully we're all wrong. And we'll see this team do
Let's
some
hope.
damage. All right.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Pete. Well, Eric asked the question. We'll keep going here. Do the Red Sox have enough juice with their pitching staff to get through September? What do you guys think? So size up the AL wild card right now, right? You're going to have one division winner in the AL Central, and then the Royals, like call it for now, the Royals and the Twins, and they are holding two of the spots. Obviously, one of the Yankees or Royals already has one. I mean, not wrapped up, but they're in a good spot. So here it is. We're looking at it on the screen right now. I'm just explaining it for the podcast crowd that'll listen later. And then the Red Sox are a game and a half back. Do you think this is how it finishes up? Forget about the order, but these four, including the AL East winner there at the top.
I
think
better
it
if the
finishes
Twins and
up
Royals
just
played
like-
the White Sox.
What was your White Sox joke that we
I said if the
skip
Twins and
past?
Royals had any more games with the White Sox, I'd like their chances better. But they're done playing them for the year, both of them.
That's true.
Oh, they're
That's
done in
true.
division. That's actually
Yeah.
big. But
12
you know
and
what?
1,
I
Cam.
like
Was
the
that
Royals.
enough?
Yeah,
12 and 1
right?
for both of them. For
Both of them.
not just
Crazy.
one of them.
And they're pissed about that one too, guarantee you. But for me, I agree with Pete. I was just watching it last night, watching the last few days, and literally to myself as I was going down the roster, offensively they're having guys that are young guys, they're having clearly career type years right now, and like Pete said, very solid years. But one thing that worries me is that the youthfulness of that rotation. I'm watching guys, and AJ knows what it looks like. Guys can tell you how they feel, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're creatures of habit. We're half of it's mental. We're told to mentally get ourselves through it. But I'm watching guys that they look fatigued. Cutter Crawford looked fatigued his last few outings. Tanner Houck looked fatigued his last few outings. So when you talk about some of these young guys, finishing strong, I just think they're going to have a tough time trying to find those quality innings that are going to get them into the playoffs down the stretch in that AL East.
Here's the biggest thing for me, Cam, is these guys haven't been through this before. They don't know what it's like to pitch tired, right? Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck, they've never pitched tired. They don't know how to oh man, I can do this without my best stuff because no one lets them do it anymore. Everybody's like, oh, you've thrown 100 innings, let's shut down. Oh, you've done this, let's shut you down, right? Well, they've never been stretched to this point, so this is going to be a great learning experience. I think they come up a little bit short, but this is going to be a great learning experience for the future of the Red Sox.
Let's wrap up the week with another Ump Show segment. If you like this segment, we did one this week after taking a little bit of a hiatus. Everyone was behaving themselves for about a week and change, and then we had that interference call with Miggy Rowe over at third base in the Phillies-Dodgers game. But there were some other candidates this week. So let's start with Atlanta. They had that fun broadcast with Smoltz and Glavine and Frenchie and whoever else has played for the Braves in the last 20 years, all on one broadcast. And they were like, oh, Brian Snitker's back to get thrown out of this game before he even started barking, just based on some bad calls. So let's start there. I think we can actually show the clip, and then we can do some listening as well.
Wow, and he gives him that pitch.
The one
Good
before that,
night.
Chip, do you see the one? I know you're throwing. Yes, Snit. You can see Snit. One before that was even lower.
Ridiculous. You're seeing he's getting his money's worth. Yep, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I was just fixing to say you're about to see Snit get thrown out of this game.
It was some bad calls. He should have got thrown out. But you know what was funny, AJ? I remember being young and playing against Chipper Jones and playing center field. And I would watch from center field balls be thrown right down the middle, and it'd be like, ball. And I'm like, damn, those balls are right down the middle. So if anybody knows what a ball looks like, even when it's a strike, it's Chipper. So I love that. Chipper used to have the smallest zone of the guys that I used to watch from center field. It was incredible. But I love listening to those guys on the call. But that was much needed, much warranted, especially right now. These guys are scuffling. You saw a lot of frustration right there. And when things are not going your way, what they say, AJ, when it rains, it pours. And right now it feels like it's pouring on the Atlanta Braves.
Listen, it didn't motivate them that much. They still got swept by the Brewers. So I love Snit. He had to stand up for his guy, but he got whooped yesterday. There it is, Dave O'Brien, 16-7. They gave up so many home runs, they ran out of fireworks, as Rick Sutcliffe and Jake Peavy stole that story from Rick Sutcliffe, used to tell. But, yeah, they gave up so many fireworks and so many home runs. It was bad. Like Dave O'Brien said, the season's spiraling. They got too many injuries, and Snit was trying anything he can, man. They really are trying anything, but they're short of weapons right now because the starting rotation's beat to death, right? The bullpen's banged up. It's just the offense is banged up. It just hasn't been a year for the Braves, and it just goes to show you one thing: when they won 14 straight division titles, how unbelievable that was, and then how hard it is to do that, because all it takes is one bad year like this where things don't go exactly right, team being as good as the Phillies, and you have this year.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about –
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Cam.
No, I was going to say pitching kept them around, and AJ's right. Now that they've hit a wall, it's been a struggle. I mean, last four games, I think, they haven't had a starter go over for 5 innings. So that's tough.
We'll talk more about the Braves with Grant McAuley. He's going to join us in about 40 minutes. Also, Hammer Territory is a show that does a lot of venting. They have usually about 4 Braves shows per week. If you want to check that out, I know we flashed the QR code for you. Very good podcast. They have a YouTube channel too. And let's get to our next candidate for this week's Ump Show. The Baltimore Orioles and Toronto Blue Jays had some fun this week, but Wednesday is the scorecard that we want to point out for umpire Larry Vanover. Brown is the Baltimore Orioles play-by-play guy, and he's a pretty nice dude. He's the one who went viral last year because he got suspended for nothing, for being nice. I don't know. And this year he's a little spicier, and I like it. Colton Cowser was involved in a just brutal Ump Show plate appearance, and I think going to break was when he was like, Colton Cowser strikes out on a 5-0 count, or however he phrased it. It was just well done. But we're looking at the scorecard here, and AJ, I think the 76% called strike accuracy probably is not great. That's more single A status.
Yeah, you know what? I like Larry. He's a good guy. He's a nice fella. And you know what? As a catcher, I want all them pitches called strikes. I don't see what the problem was. Listen, I wanted that strike zone as big as that because I swung. So it didn't matter to me if it was like this far off the plate. And I was like, oh, like that pitch?
That's not bad.
I'm letting that ball. That one, it's balls up. I'm letting it eat. Right? I'm not looking for a ball down the middle. Like that ball's close enough, Cam. Swing. I don't.
But
have
you
a
know,
problem with
you
this.
know what's impressive to me, especially retiring, is and I watch these games, how good these guys are with their strike zone awareness. Like these hitters, and like you said, I mean, all jokes aside, like those pitches aren't. We've seen worse, right? But the ability to just know the strike zone like these dudes know is like it's so impressive to watch. You know, after post playing. because those are balls, you know. And I just think at the end of the day, for me, I just think it's more about accountability. Hey, I missed the calls. You know, I was off. I had a rough night. I don't know. It's just been a tough year on the umps. It's been a real tough year behind the plate, in the field. It's been a tough year. But like AJ said, you know, Larry is one of the guys that I got along with. Hey, I always enjoy talking to him. He's not a bad guy. He just had a bad night.
Hey, listen,
Yeah.
you know what it is? It's social media, though. It's social media. It's umpire auditor, right? That's what's there. We never had that before. You're like, this guy had a bad night. Yeah, whatever. We'll move on tomorrow.
Oh,
Bob
I'm
Davidson,
definitely
he missed
auditing.
20 calls. Yeah, but nowadays you got all this stuff, and everyone knows umpires' names. Before, nobody knew umpires' names. You knew like 2 umpires, right? Now everybody knows every umpire's name. Before it was like, who's behind the plate? Oh boy, okay. We got Tim
73.
McClellan. Tim McClellan, his strike zone is this big. And if you don't throw it literally on the plate and this tall, you weren't going to get it. So you knew that going into it. And there was guys you could expand on, but now with the box, man, it just makes it tougher. And is it better for the game? I think so. But has the strike zone gotten so small that now pitchers are having a hard time? That's why you see velocity has to go up and stuff has to go up.
Yeah, and it doesn't help when there's national television shows that have segments called Ump Show. What's that about? That's new. We didn't do that last year.
Bunch of haters.
I love it. Keep the players accountable. Keep everybody accountable on the field.
That's what we do. We keep ourselves accountable
What
too.
about
We
off the
make
field?
fun of
What about
ourselves.
dudes off the field?
That too.
Off the field, umps can do whatever they want. Have a great
I'm
night.
talking about umpires.
Have a
I'm talking
time.
about front offices and stuff.
Like what? You have an example
I'm
in
just saying,
mind?
like front offices. No, I'm not saying anyone in general.
Oh, front
You mean-
offices,
you want
owners.
to go back to
The whole deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain owners that have like pretty small super yachts, and it's embarrassing. They need to get it together. Cam, question for you about the zone before we step away from this. What bothered you more, vertical or horizontal when it was way off?
The low strike. Yeah, the low strike.
Low strikes?
The low strike got me all the time. The one up didn't bother me as much. You know, I came up around Gary Sheffield. It's like you want to hunt the ball up anyway. You're looking for the ball elevated. Those balls you got a chance to do more with. But it's the pitches down that really, really get me more than anything. And, I mean, down and off the plate away too. Especially like lefties, they miss a lot of those arm side pitches to lefties that really, really, really tick me off. So this would be a long show if you start asking me what ticks me off about umpires. Sorry.
We might have to do a segment.
It's actually more than just one thing. Sorry.
What really grinds Cam's gears?
To me, though, the thing about umpires that drove me crazy was depending on who I was facing, right? If I was facing a dude with a split and he could get the ball like a fastball call below the zone, then that opens me up to swinging at a split below the zone, right? Or like I told the story all the time. Like we used to face Bartolo Colon, and I'd go to the home plate umpire and I'd say, "Listen, he's gonna throw the 2-seamer that starts in my hip. That ball is not a strike. Please try to watch it the whole way." And sometimes umpires would be good and they'd listen and say, "Oh, you're right, man. That ball's not a strike. I'm really watching it." And then you get the umpires that would get all excited and they'd still bring you up, and you look at them and they'd be like, "Yeah, sorry, I got excited." So okay, but it just depended on who you were facing because certain pitches would lead to you swinging at other pitches. That's why guys get mad.
Yeah, you know what? I remember a bat against Chris Archer. That's a great point, AJ. And I remember literally, I think it was Andy Fletcher, and I was going, he's not trying to throw me a strike. Like, what are we doing? Like, you're helping this guy out. He's literally not trying to throw a strike, and you're helping him out. So, like you said, even knowing the guy on the mound as an umpire, like, hey, this is a guy who pounds the zone. Clayton Kershaw. Everybody knows Clayton Kershaw's in the zone. St. Louis Cardinals in the past, their MO was win the race to 2 strikes. Like, knowing who was on the mound, too, goes a long way, too. That also upset me, too. Like, are the umpires doing their homework about the guy that they're about to be calling balls and strikes for? So you're absolutely right, AJ. That's a great point.
I'll say the part that I've heard from managers and players that bothers them the most is the double inconsistency, and that's why the Orioles play stood out just now. So you're watching that first strike that's off the mark widthwise, right, AJ? But then the next, called strike that's off the mark is vertical, and they're like, dude, if you're going to give him a little bit of this, right? Okay, it's close. It's not like you shouldn't be freaking out. But then they're like, now you're going above my zone too. And yeah, they weren't crazy above the box, but I think when you feel like he's not getting it right either way, that's pretty frustrating.
Well, that was the other thing we'd always argue about is you can't give them both sides. If you want to give
Yeah.
a guy this far off the plate away, I can live with that. If you want to give him off the plate in, I'm hopefully not swinging at it, but at least I know that. But you can't give him, because if you give him this much, which is like 2 inches on each side, the plate goes from 17 inches to 21 inches. And we all know that 4.5 inches is huge, Scott, according to Todd Frazier. So let's make sure that, if you give him 2 inches and 2 inches, that's 4 inches more that I have to cover. Now, if it's like, all right, he's giving him 2 inches off the plate away, I can dive out there and I can take care of that. But if it's giving them both in and out, if it's in, I'm like, all right, I just can't hit that, so I'm going to lay off it. But if I got to cover both, I'm in trouble. Like, if I got to cover high and low, I'm in trouble.
That's a great math lesson with AJ. So with that being said, Ryne Stanek, reliever, is about to join us on FT from the New York Mets, just recently traded. We'll ask him about life with his new playoff contending ball club. Be right back on FT. AJ, did you get anything from any of these comments? I mean, he mostly didn't commit to much, but I will say he didn't come out there and go, no way, Ross is my guy for the long term, so that's not going to change. No? You didn't get anything from it?
I got nothing. This is the most GM speak stuff you've ever heard in your life right here. Well, I got to look in personally, and I need another 5 years, Rogers Communications, who owns the Blue Jays, because, let me give Ross 5 more years. If it doesn't work, then I'll get a new GM, and then give me 5 more years. I mean, it's like, I love that what the reporter was asking, but, like, can we get, like, what are you looking for? What specifically? Nobody ever answers that. You ever notice that? All GM speak is like, well, we're not going to answer that, but I know what we're looking for. Nobody else on earth does, because if you tell them what you're looking for, then they have something to look for. If you just say, oh, well, I know it when I see it. Well, guess what? It's like the guy on Twitter, Cam's favorite hitting guy on Twitter. That's like, you guys don't see it. Only I can see it. Yeah, no kidding, because there's nothing to see.
You know what this reminds me of is like having a conversation. And AJ, when you're married, when you say something to your wife and it's totally not what you said, and she says something totally different, and you go, babe, that's not what I said. And she's like, well, that's what I heard. So for me, like what I heard as Scott read that was there was a lot of dysfunction. There was a lot of not being on the same page, a lot of non-communicating issues that were going on where they're not talking. Nobody's on the same page is what I heard. So I don't know. I get it, AJ, but I heard a guy that made a statement that says it's a lot of dysfunction. We got people not on the same page. We're not communicating like we should. And that's a problem. So I don't know if that starts with GM. I don't know if it starts with manager or if it trickles down to players. But what I heard is this organization that is not on the same page, and it's been the worst that it's been in his tenure, and they got to do something to get it figured out.
We timed this perfectly. Back on FT on national television on Bally Sports. And if you're watching on YouTube, on the FT YouTube channel, Ryne Stanek joins us right now, new member of the New York Mets bullpen. Ryan, great to see you. And I mentioned that we timed this perfectly because you're getting the camera ready for the Ryne Stanek Bowl, which is coming this weekend to a television near you, or if you're in Seattle, you can check it out in person. Ryan moving over from Seattle to the New York Mets. We're getting his camera set up, so we lost him for a quick second. So I'm just going to keep talking nice about the series that's coming up because it's actually a big one. Mariners obviously are kind of fighting for their AL West lives up against the Astros, and it looks like you're only going to get one team from that division that's going to make it into the playoffs. That's Ryan's former ball club. And then the New York Mets obviously are in a nice little battle for the wild card. There he is, looking good. I was able to stall for a sec. How you doing?
I'm good. My bad. My thing froze, I guess. I don't know what it was doing. I was watching you guys, and all of a sudden everything stopped. So, yeah, I had to figure that out.
You're good. Looking perfect now. So I was just hyping the Ryne Stanek Bowl that's going down this weekend in Seattle.
Oh.
So are you excited to instantly get to face the former team that you were a part of?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Yeah, everything happened pretty quick, and I wasn't really foreseeing a trade happening, and then it did. So everything was kind of up in the air real quick. So yeah, it'll be cool. It's cool to be back and see the boys, but yeah, just kind of another game at this point.
Hey, Ryan, now that you're back, we had Whit Merrifield on, who went from the Phillies to the Braves, and we were asking him if he's going to be giving them all the inside dope. So are you going to the Mets people today and saying, like, hey, I got a pitch comm, I saved one, it'll go right to there. You can put it in our hitters' helmets so they can hear what pitches they're calling? Like, do you have any secrets you can give out to your new teammates?
No, I wish I did. I don't have a whole lot. Like, I think so much of what goes on in the game now is so public knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, so much of like how people attack people. There's so many scouting reports that like there's nothing I could give anybody that is gonna be more informative than any of the, I don't know, thousands of pages of data that they have on every player. So I don't think what I could give is enough to swing anything.
Hey, Ryan, Cam Maybin here. First off, I want to say I appreciate you allowing me to get on base at least once. You know, at least thank you for at least allowing me to have an on base percentage. You know, I go check all the former pitchers we have on. I got to go check 0 for 3, 2 punch outs. But you did walk me one time, and I appreciate it. So I just want to ask you, you know, you've been extremely coveted, man. You've had a lot of success since those Tampa days. But, you know, can you explain now, and seen a few different clubhouses, can you explain how did the trade go down? How was it? Who came to you? Was it Jerry DeProto? You said, you know, you kind of were surprised, I guess, somewhat. But, you know, can you explain just a little bit how it went down and now the process of going in this new clubhouse with the team trying to get into the middle of a race?
Yeah, we were actually just in Chicago. It was pretty late actually because we'd already thrown and I'd gotten off the mound and done kind of like the routine and was getting ready to get dressed for the game. And Scott called me in the office and was like, "Hey, you've just been traded." And when he said it, he was like, "You've been traded to New York." And I was like, "Which one?" And he was like, "The Mets." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Like whatever." Like it was just like one of those things where it's like I wasn't like expecting to get moved. So it was kind of like as soon as he called me in the office, knowing what day it was, I was like, "Huh, that's probably what just happened." And obviously it did. But my family was there, so I had to call my wife, and my mom was actually there helping with the kids. So they were getting on the team bus about ready to come to the game. And I was like, "Hey, you should probably get off the bus because I'm going to be headed back in like the next 30, 40 minutes. But yeah, like everything happened super, super quick. And then I talked to all the people with the Mets, and they were like, "Hey, we'd like to get you here sometime tomorrow. We play at like 4. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like whatever." And initially wasn't sure if I was going to get activated for that game. And then they called me back later and they're like, "Actually, we want you active for this game. So like, can you make it?" And I was like, "Well, I'll try." I got up at like 4 a.m. to get on a 7 a.m. flight to fly up to New York and get everything rolling.
Well, let me follow with asking this. First off, how was that on your birthday? Happy belated birthday. I know I know that was a whirlwind. It happened on your birthday. But 2, you said, you know, you were traded to New York and you asked which one. And when he told you the Mets, you said, "Okay, cool." Was it an okay, cool because you got a sweet head of hair and you've been known for the facial hair, or was it just more like, you know, what was that cool about? What was so cool about that?
Well, I realized I didn't have to basically buzz my head and shave my face, so that was like actually look like myself for a while. So that's cool. I mean, obviously as a reliever, like in a situation like this, you don't have any control over anything basically. So yeah, you just kind of go where you're told. But at least it simplified the process a little bit, not having to worry about how to get a haircut and all that stuff, like with the time crunch as it is.
I had to ask. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because okay, cool. I mean, if I'm going there and I'm like, you think Scott Service would be like, you've been traded to the Mets, not to New York, because I would have been like, do I get to pick which one I get to go to, or is this your choice?
Yeah, when he
right?
said New York, I
like,
was
I'm
like,
not
there's two, like
That's like, hey, you got traded to Chicago, and you're like, which last place team?
oh, God.
But then I thought you wouldn't want to go to the Yankees because you guys got a little history. The Rays, the way they do things, they got a little history with the Yankees. So I don't know if there was a little bad blood from back in the day when you were with the Rays, or that's maybe why you didn't want to go there.
No, I just figuring out which one at that point. It was like I knew like it's like it just is what it is. I know it's not under my control. I just do basically what I'm told at that point.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have to ask this then. You're arbitration eligible, right? You already went through ARB once, did you not?
I was a free agent this past year.
Free agent this year. Okay, so when you do a free agent and you go through the ARB process, I always wondered this about you. Since you were the original opener, does your agent go to an arbitration and say, not only did he finish 30 games, but he started 30 games? There's the thumbs up. So does that help you in arbitration or free agency,
No.
or does that hurt you?
It hurts you. It's just not. It's not good. It's not good in ARB. It actually at all. Because as a reliever, you don't get paid on starts, and like you don't have the innings to have it be beneficial to like with the start. So it's like, yeah, if I had 50 starts, but I had, I don't know, 300 innings, fine. But like, it's just, or wait, yeah, I mean, whatever the like 100, yeah, whatever. However many innings, my brain's not working right now. But yeah, like if I had a starter amount of innings, the starts would be great. But as a reliever, going in there and they're like, hey, you have 60 games, which the computer reads as basically no leverage at all. So like that hurts you. You don't get holds or saves. So like that's the only thing that matters in ARB for relievers. So it's like if you're not getting that, like it basically just like kind of crushes your worth in ARB as a reliever. Unfortunately, like it was a cool gig and it won us a lot of games, but financially it did not help.
So let me ask this. It looked sweet. It looked pretty. It was shiny. But do you feel somewhat screwed by the Rays then? Because I mean,
No.
with your type of stuff, they took some money out of your pocket. Then that's what I'm getting.
And the thing is, like in the moment, there was no frame of reference. There was no precedent set for it. There was no like nobody knew what it was gonna do, and it like the fact that it did that. I mean, I don't know if they knew that was going to be the end factor, but it didn't matter to them anyway because I got traded before I got to ARB for them anyway, so it didn't really matter. I think it was just a situation where it kind of was what it was. There was nothing that, like, I don't know, there's nothing I could have done or they could have done. It just is what it is. Like, while it didn't work out, like, financially that way, like, I threw the ball well. I mean, whatever. It just is what it is. It's not like I definitely don't hold any ill will or nothing about it because I don't think anybody had a real idea of like what was going to transpire in arbitration with those kind of numbers.
Agreed. But you know what? Brian Kenny loved you, so that's all that matters. In the grand scheme of things, you were like Brian Kenny's hero of all heroes.
Yeah.
They finally did something I wanted them to do all these years. And I have a bobblehead, or is it a bobblehead of you?
It's a bottle.
It's like
opener.
a bottle
Yeah.
opener. The bottle opener. I got one because I did a
That's
game.
clever.
They did a bottle opener of you. So maybe one day if I see you, I'll get you to sign it because it's kind of a little cool keepsake I got from the Rays way. But
Yeah.
now that you're in New York, you're going back to Seattle, and I'm asking if you're going to give them signs. But are you going to go talk to the hitters and say, "Listen, guys, the ball does not travel here at all. So just get the excuse ready, Pete. When you hit your best bolt and the outfielder jumps up and catches it, it's Seattle. because I'm so tired of hearing that excuse in Seattle because I loved hitting in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because we went from Colorado where the ball just explodes to here where the ball it plays pretty. I don't know. I don't even know what the ballpark metrics show. I think the ballpark metric obviously are probably like a touch pitcher friendly, but like I don't think they're like crazy. I know it plays pretty big to straight away, but in the corners it goes pretty good.
Well, I'll follow here. So you spent most of this season with them. What do you think was the problem with the offense? Like, I know it was a super frustrating part for Seattle, and they're right in the thick of the playoff race. I mean, that's been cool too. You go from one playoff contender to another. Both probably have a similar chance of getting in. But what do you think was the problem? Obviously, there's some nasty starting pitchers on that staff, but Teoscar Hernandez gets brought up a lot since last year he was there, and he said I couldn't see the ball well there, but it can't be the case for everyone.
I have no idea. I really don't know. I think maybe it was a situation where there was a lot more expectations this year because of like what had gone on. I don't know. There are too many good players in that clubhouse for that to be something that, in my eyes, would continue all year. You know what I mean? There's too many good players, too many guys with too much track record. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's hard to see. I don't know. But I mean, it's a hard game, man. Like, hitting's hard, and I don't know. It just is something where inevitably there's going to be a regression or progression back to the mean whenever there's guys that have been around long enough. And like right before I got traded and right after, like, Polo was struggling and started hitting the ball really well. He was super unlucky. There was just a lot of things going on. Like some guys that were hitting the ball hard were getting unlucky. I don't really know. I don't know if there's like one thing to pinpoint that's the problem or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I just think it's a situation where hitting is freaking hard and the stuff in the game is so good and it's better than it's ever been and it's continuing to get better. So it's making hitting even harder. So I don't know if it's any one thing. It might just be, for lack of a better term, baseball's hard and is what it is.
I want to touch on that. I want to touch on that point real quick, Ryan, because throughout my career, I was always traded to the parks where they consider them pitcher friendly. San Diego has a marine layer that comes in after 8 o'clock. You got to really hit the ball. I know everybody isn't as strong as AJ, but as a pitcher,
no, I'm not saying that, but it just, man, what are excuses y'all have?
Everybody
what
isn't
are the
as strong as AJ, but. Did you have a favorite park to pitch in? Do you feel like there was a park that you pitched in that you had a little bit of a pitcher's advantage? I'm just curious. Or are you like AJ where it's like, and I agree the game is just hard, or is it just, is that just all in between the ears?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't have any parks where I'm like, oh, like this is a great place to pitch because like they're like, it all depends on the stadium and the type of team that you're playing. Like going to Kansas City, it's a good place to pitch, but it's a good lineup. So like, it's not like that friendly. You know what I mean? Like when you face good teams, regardless of where the park is or how the park like should play historically, like if the team's good, it's gonna be a problem. If the team's not that good, it's gonna be a little bit more friendly. It's not one size fits all, but like. There's definitely parks where like you step on the mound and the visuals are better, or the mound feels close, or the mound feels short, or the mound feels tall, and like you feel good on it. Like I think there's parks like that, or mounds where the mound is just really really good and it feels good under your feet. Like Yankee Stadium, like the mound is like the perfect clay to where you're like that feeling when you step on like clay and your cleats sink and it just like feels nice. It's such a good feeling. And like, that's exactly what it feels like at the bullpen and in the game mound. You're like, it just feels nice. And yeah, there's just parks like that where you remember little things like that. And, that's kind of like,
okay. So give me those parks. So give me those parks. Yankee Stadium. Give me 2 more then. I'm just curious.
it's got
So
a
I
good
can watch it
mound.
when you go there. When you go there, I can watch it and be like, oh yeah, he said he loved this part.
Well, it's the mound. It's like because Yankee
the
Stadium
mound.
is not a friendly place to pitch. It's a tough lineup, but like the mound is really good. Like Tampa, the mound is pristine always. Like most of the domes where it's like all they have to worry about is the mound. The mound is like immaculate. So like those places are always like great to pitch because like it feels good on your feet. Like Boston is a weird one because like the backdrop is so far. So it gives you like a weird optical illusion that like the mound is kind of further than it actually is, and it's not a super tall mound. It feels like it's kind of like a little bit lower, so it feels really deep. But like Tampa, I mean, it's the same. It's like I think like obviously like they measure it and their rules and whatever, but like it feels like you're there, like on the hitter. Like Oakland kind of feels the same way. Detroit feels kind of far because they have that like runway in the mound. So like it's like I don't mind pitching there, but like it's a weird visual, especially like, even like the stadium like Cleveland, LA, like the Angels and the Dodgers where there's like netting and stuff, and Texas where like there's netting instead of like just like a pure wall and then netting. It gives like a much different visual for like when you step on the mound. I don't know. It's weird.
That.
It's weird.
I love that. I love that breakdown. That actually was a better answer than my question. That was a great breakdown. I love that. Because I wonder, because as a hitter, you think about these things where it's like, dude, this guy feels like he's right on top of me, or vice versa in the outfield. I feel like I'm way away from everything. So no, that was super.
Colorado, super out there in the outfield. Like everything's
that's
safe.
actually
Like,
one of the places that come in my head. First place that comes in my head. I'm like, dude, I'm on the island out here.
Yeah.
All right, so Ryan, I was going to credit you for being an analytical person after you started talking about all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you brought up that pitchers are real human beings, so I changed my mind. Maybe you're not a super analytics nerd because you went from like, we're talking about this, and we're talking about this, that, and this, and this, and then all of a sudden you went to, oh, well, I just feel better at this place. So I applaud you for going a little bit more towards the human side of what's going on. But I have to ask you this. You're named after Ryne Stanek, correct?
Yeah.
And were you a Cubs fan growing up? Are your parents a Cubs fan? Because why on earth would they name you that?
I actually born in Lake St. Louis, grew up a Cardinal fan, like had been a Cardinal fan basically until I got drafted. It's my dad always respected the way he played the game, liked the way he played. Obviously, playing against the Cardinals every year, like it was something that he never really liked the Cubs, but also like respected the way he played the game. So it was kind of like a hand in hand thing. They wanted to name me Ryan, but then my dad was like, "Well, how about we spell it like this?" So it was kind of like the best compromise they could make.
Yeah, they should have named you like Red Shandies, like some Cardinals guy, right? Like I mean, come on, you're a Cardinals fan. You can't name your kid after a Cub. You're a Cardinals fan, bro. Yeah, I mean, you're not naming your kid Derek. You're not naming your kid Derek after Derek Jeter. You're not naming your kid Aaron after Aaron Judge, right? Like, I mean, that was the hardest thing for me, right? And I don't know if Cam was like this, but when I named my kid, my wife would come to me and say, all right, we're going to name our son this. And I'm like, nope. She's like, why not? I'm like, well, there was a dude I played against I didn't like. So, nope, we ain't naming him. So we got to find a different name. But your dad was like, nope, damn it, we're doing Cubs.
Yeah, that's what we did whenever we were naming our kids. It's just like, well, no, I don't like that dude. So like I played against a dude like that in middle school. I'm like, that dude sucks. So no, we're not.
That's a fact.
See, exactly. That matters. That stuff matters. That's real life.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well then, let's finish on a high note. We got AJ's little thing.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's one of the better, more creative giveaways I've ever seen.
It's actually functional. It's definitely one that like I still have a couple of them in the house that like I use on occasion just because they're there. But yeah, there's a button on the back and you press it and all you hear is BK talking. So it's pretty good.
AJ might have just smacked that part and broke it. I don't know. But
I changed it. I changed the voice.
What'd you say, Ryan?
He just pulled out the voice box in the back.
Yeah, exactly. We can replace it, AJ. We've got a tech guy for that. Ryan, this was awesome, dude. Really chill combo. Great to have you on. Good luck this weekend. Have fun against the M's. And also, actually, for our FT fans, Trevor May, part of the FT fam, is going to be on the Sunday StatCast broadcast for the Sunday Night Baseball game with the Mets and Mariners. So check that out. But Ryan, thanks again, man. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Ryne Stanek from the New York Mets with us on FT. Coming right back. All right, we're back for a quick second, taking any extra questions from the FT fam. There's still debate going on. I think we'll have time. I'm not 100%, but if we don't, there's still debate going on about Christian Moore because he goes up to Double-A and now he's smacking the ball there. And Eric in the chat was like, should the Angels call him up before the end of the year?
They will. They probably no, they shouldn't, but they probably will.
Yeah.
A lot of other teams would let him annihilate pitching and still wouldn't call him up just based on service time. I will give the Angels credit. I mean, if you're a pure fan and you just want to see the best players in the sport at the top level of the game, that is what you want. The Angels aren't letting business get in the way of who is best in their organization and who deserves to play. I will give them credit there.
I love it. I agree, Scotty. And I say move him now. Move him while he's hot. And again, this is what I love about the college guys. And then this is my thing too. If he was a high school guy, I would not be saying this. That dude is physically mature. I know the mental side of the game, he's going to have to continue to get there. But they did it with They did it with Neto. They did it with Shanuel. And look, I like where these guys are. And I think Christian Moore is just as developed or as ahead of their progression as you're going to get. So for me, I say let's go. Move them while they're hot. And the boys are playing good baseball right now under Ron Washington. Let's go. They're playing a spoiler right now. Nobody wants to play the Anaheim Angels. I'll tell you that.
I disagree. I think you got to let him sit down there a little bit. And the reason the Angels drafted him is because they promised him one of the reasons he said, yes, I'll go to the Angels is because before the draft, they promised him he would go right to Double-A. So I think, listen, I'm all for getting guys to big leagues when they're ready. But from going from the college to the big leagues in less than a year is tough for a lot of guys, man. I've seen it happen.
They did it
I've
with
seen guys do
Shanuel.
well. Yeah, how's that working out? He's not a.
Right.
He probably could have used some time.
250.
Yeah, he probably could have used some with no pop. With no
but
power.
hey, but 250 and no power though. So that was the thing for me. The guy never showed a lot of power, so that's why I was confused with that move, AJ. I don't disagree with you. I was just more confused. Talking about a first baseman you bringing up, I need this dude to be like young Anthony Rizzo, popping 30 homers, just doing damage. So I do agree with you on that one. I do. I think Christian Moore is a little bit more advanced. I don't disagree with you, AJ. I'm just going by what the Angels have done. Like Scott said in the past, they have not been afraid to move high college guys, while they're going well. So, hey, why not? They got nothing to lose.
I'm going to try and get Christian Moore on the show. I think he needs to make an appearance. FoulTerritoryShop.com is the spot for shirts, hats, stickers, coffee mugs, hoodies when it gets a little cold. And now, fresh and new on the Foul Territory Shop, FT Polos. You might have seen us rocking them at All-Star or sometime over the last few weeks. They're available for the world now. I know some of you in the chat on YouTube, if you're hanging out right now, will ask when there's going to be a new item. Well, there is a new item for you. It's an FT Polo. Go check it out.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
I'll tell you, the Philly show gets some VIP guests. They know what they're doing. Ruben Amaro, Todd Zalecki, and Jim Salisbury. They do a really good job. It's part of the FT network. Go give them a little follow on the podcast platform. Go check out the YouTube channel. So they've had Bryce Harper on, a bunch of other big names. The latest, Mookie Betts, as the Phillies just took on the Dodgers. So a couple things emerged. Let's look at one quote, and then we'll also show you a little clip from the show. Well, let's break down a couple quotes from Mookie, who's always a great interview, right? Always giving you real talk. He said, and this from Bill Plunkett, who was listening to it, interesting answer in here from Betts about ceding the Dodgers leadoff spot to Shohei Ohtani. I mean, I can't say I'm better than Shohei. There's nothing really you can say. Whatever Shohei says goes, and after that, we kind of fall in line. Thoughts on that?
Know your role. What did Rock used to say? Know your role and shut your mouth. But right now, the man in LA is Shohei Ohtani, right? So, I mean, as good as Mookie is and Freddie is, if Shohei wants to hit leadoff, you know your role and you shut your mouth.
Hey, you guys are on the roll today. I'm telling you, two of the funniest guys I've been on here with all year. But I agree. I love it. And you know what? It's just a testament to the kind of character that Mookie Betts has. It's just a leader being a leader, and also understanding where the hierarchy lies. But you know, Mookie Betts, he's one of the best, if not pound for pound, the best baseball player in the game. But Shohei, we've never seen anything like him. He is what I continue to say is he is AI. He is artificial intelligence. He's not real.
I agree. Yeah, just let it roll. And let's actually roll the Mookie Betts quote about leadership and how that's changed throughout the course of his career on the Philly show.
The only thing I guess I grew up and I've started to hold myself more accountable to whatever it is, right? So I feel like your successes and your failures are both your fault. They're on you. And so I feel like now because I hold myself to that standard, I kind of hold other people around me to that standard. And so if you're going and you're not playing well, if you're not doing this well or whatever it is, and I see, well, I mean, bro, you can't really expect to bunt if you don't ever bunt. Like you can't expect to get out of this slump if you go hit the same amount that you hit. And so because I hold myself to that standard and I hold the other people around me to that standard, sometimes I just don't say anything because what I'm going to say to you, you probably are not going to like. And so that's why I don't see myself really as that much of a leader, just because I try not to do that to everyone, because not everyone can handle that type of stuff. Because I've said it, and even with my wife, you know, whatever it is, they may get mad, or she may get mad because I say something. And so I know my wife, that's fine, but with my teammates, I don't think it's a good idea to really, because people handle things different ways. So I don't see myself as that much of a leader. Maybe like a on the field example leader, but definitely not a vocal rah type leader or whatever you say.
Damn, why didn't I hear this when I was playing? I could have gotten so much less trouble and so much less arguments with dudes if I just would have been like, you know what? They ain't going to be able to handle this anyway, so I just ain't going to say nothing. Because I was like, hell no, I'm saying something. Because it ain't right. If you ain't doing it right, we're going to say something. That was the way I was brought up, and probably wasn't the right way. But dang, Mookie, I know I played with you on your debut, but man, why didn't you tell me this before you got to the big leagues? I would have been so much better off.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. And it was something that I learned through experience. You know, when I got called up, it was Ty Jones and Kenny Rogers and Pudge Rodriguez and Gary Sheffield and Maglio Ordonez and Pudge Rodriguez and Brandon Inge. I mean, it was veteran after veteran after veteran. And, you know, there were some good ones. There were also some that would treat you like crap. And, you know, one thing as I got older, I always wanted to say, you know, you try to hold guys accountable, but you also have to realize that people are who they are. And like Mookie said, everybody can't handle constructive criticism. Everybody can't handle somebody else trying to help them be accountable. So one thing I was always big on is allowing guys to be themselves, and I'll leave the butthole moments up to guys like AJ. So that was me. I was that teammate. You know what? I'll pat you on the back after AJ gets in your rear end. So I appreciate you, AJ.
I was a proud butthole. Thank you.
You were raised the right way, AJ. You did it right. And you got to have a yin and yang, right? You got to have that guy like Mookie who's going to be like, hey, it's cool. We can figure it out. But I think it's good to have guys like AJ, because you do need that accountability where you really want to go to where you want to as a team. But I do appreciate his honesty and transparency. And, too, that's knowing who you are as a person. Like Mookie knows. Like, I lead by example, right? And I know who I can lead verbally when that time comes. So I think that's having a great self-awareness of of who he is as a man, and I appreciate that from Mookie.
Yeah, and I think the best teams also have, the good cop, bad cop, the balance of not just having yes men. This goes for orgs too. That's the way I think about it. I just think there's some GMs that do it so well. It's like it's trade deadline season or it's draft season and they're polling the entire front office on what they think should happen, while there's other front offices that just want to hear, two people say, yeah, that's exactly what we should do, boss, whatever you want. You need somebody to bite back. Even if you disagree, you got to hear the other side. So just throwing that out there. All right. We're going to step aside and get some Braves therapy talk from Grant McAuley. What the heck is going on with ATL? And are they still going to make the playoffs at this point? Because they're on the outside looking in.
Why hasn't Adley and Gunnar been extended? I get Corbin Burns. I kind of get Santander. But I don't understand. There's some other ones you could have made moves for and gotten them done instead of now every year and every home run that Gunnar hits and every time that, Adley does something to help the team win. Guess what? The price goes up and up and up and up. I mean, I just don't understand why the Angelos family and now the new owners have not stepped up and said, hey, guys, here's a contract. Let's make it team friendly. Let's make it player friendly. A la, Bobby Witt Jr. We just talked about Ketel Marte. We've talked about Corbin Carroll. We've talked about a bunch of guys that have signed these deals. The Orioles just don't seem to be willing to do it. And you said they don't have major league players ready in the minor leagues. Well, a couple years from now, Adley's going to be a free agent. Gunner's going to be a free agent. Then what do you do?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to take any consideration of whether or not to extend these guys into the context of our window of contention and how long can we keep it open? Because right now there's kind of a cap, by around 2029, 2030, like you say, a lot of these guys will start to hit free agency. And the longer you wait, as many teams have found, the more expensive these guys might become. So, now is probably the time to strike this offseason, this winter, whatever, to make a deal like that. I think that it's important to note that, going through an ownership change, everything moves slow as molasses. I mean, probably in the months leading up to the actual sale, the Orioles under John Angelos were probably not trying to take on too much extra money. You don't really want to change your books too much when you're looking to complete a sale and put a price point on your organization. So I have a feeling that probably didn't help any progress toward an extension for any of these guys. And then, new ownership coming in. David Rubenstein has expressed multiple times that he fully believes in the vision that Mike Elias has, and he's going to back him for what he believes is the best long-term success for this organization. He's trying to figure out what exactly the profit margins are of this organization, what the costs look like, what a fair market price looks like for a player. This is something that Rubenstein, not being a guy who has been involved in professional sports to this point, is still learning.
Emergency therapy session needed here with Grant McAuley. So Grant, you're back. Usually we bring on a guest and it takes a while till we talk to them again, just because we like to fly around the league. But I feel like we spoke somewhat recently, but we have an emergency here. You can check out Grant on 92.9 The Game. You can watch him on Locked On, Battery Power, host of From the Diamond, all over the place. Okay. But Grant, what is your, ultimate therapy session talk to Braves fans right now on why it's going to be okay? Can we start on the positive side of things after they absolutely got walloped by a good Milwaukee Brewers team?
I mean, that's a really great question. And the crazy part about this is, and I feel like we've maybe asked this question a few different times, is can it get any worse? Have we reached the bottom and now you kind of rebound and you bounce back to the top? You figure it out. I mean, this is a club that's done it so well over the course of the last 6 seasons. I mean, there have been some lows in there. There's also been the highest of highs. But right now, it just seems like this is, and I get a lot of commentary on social media. I do a lot of commentary on social media, as I'm sure you can tell as well. But it just seems like for a club that's maintained an over 500 record in large part because of what it did in April, it is crazy to hear the levels to which the frustration has mounted for Braves fans out there that have been waiting for this club to come anywhere close to the expectations that they've set, not just in 2021, but seemingly annually for a while here. So I think everybody's just in a really weird headspace. I don't know that I have the answers. I know the Braves are currently searching for the answers on the field and particularly at the plate. And it has been a season I don't think anybody could have predicted.
Hey, Grant, Cam Maybin here. Let me get straight to it. You know, this is a season that we haven't seen in a while. You think about these numbers: 239 as a team average is 11th in the NL, 479 runs, 14th out of 15, 49 stolen bases has a lot to do with Ronald Acuna Jr. And a guy that they relied on heavily, who led all of baseball in slugging last year. You know, where do they find some help, and what is going on with Matt Olson right now? What are you hearing? What's the mindset? What's he working on? Because they desperately need that guy right now. I know Austin Riley's kind of, starting to heat up a little bit. Ozuna's been great all year long. What is Matt Olson trying to do right now? Because he has been a big part of those numbers being where they are.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And I've talked about that on my show and From the Diamond and just about anywhere else that I've been, that the linchpin of the Braves offense for what they want to do, what they need to do going forward, it's got to be Matt Olson. I mean, now that Austin Riley has kind of gotten through his first couple of months, that funk and a couple of weeks that he was off the field, but since he's come back, and really since the middle of June, he's been the guy you expected. But for Matt Olson, I mean, there have been some streaks of baseball that, again, I just don't know that anybody could have expected, even for somebody that's had a couple of those before. He had a long homerless streak early in the year. Then it seemed like he figured it out in June. Then all of a sudden went into another long funk. And then it seems like maybe about 10 or so days ago, he started swinging the bat well again. I talked to Matt about a week ago, and he said this has been a grueling process because he's well aware of the numbers not being where they need to be. And, when Matt came over from Oakland and talked about like his hitting style, it's no secret. This is a slugger. This is a guy looking to lift the ball, looking to hit home runs, looking to drive the ball. He said, when I hit it on the ground, that's a loss for me. That's not what I'm trying to do. And it's been a lot more strikeouts, fewer walks this year. And I don't know where the power has gone, but I know he's been there. He's been trying to work on it, figure it out with Kevin Seitzer and others before games and extra work. All of those things. It's just not materializing. And I think that may be the most frustrating part is, you look for answers, you ask for the answers, and nobody seems to have them right now. And he's just said, look, I got to trust the process. I got to know that my talent is there, and eventually I'm going to get back there. But right now, it's no fun for anybody. And Matt Olson, I think, is more aware of it than anybody that's been watching as well.
Okay, so Grant, who's to blame for this? Is it Kevin Seitzer? I hate to say that, blame a certain coach or a certain person for this. Is it on the players? Because I know the players are working hard. But, it's not only Matt Olson. It's Sean Murphy hasn't performed like he has in the past. Austin Riley, I know he had his own hitting coach on the side who tragically passed away not long ago, and that was a big deal. But some of the other guys, in the outfit, I know they have the injuries, but some of the other guys haven't done what they've done in the past. So is it just a bad year, or is there something else going on behind the scenes that we're missing?
I mean, AJ, I'm prone to think it's more of a bad year than just some bigger thing happening behind the scenes. But as you know, I mean, it's a long season. You are going to have, the times where maybe it comes a little bit easier. That's something else Matt Olson said. It's just last year, it just seemed to come so easy for us. And this year, it seems like everything has been a struggle to get going. Losing Ronald Acuna Jr., even though he wasn't playing at an MVP level either prior to injuring his knee, that's going to take a toll on this club. They've lost Ozzie Albies now. Michael Harris has been out for 2 months, but is on his way back. Sean Murphy missed 2 months. Riley, others. I mean, Ozzie Albies, this is his second stint on the IL for a fracture because, remember, he fractured a toe earlier this year. It's been a strange year, a weird year. I don't know that they've made any wholesale changes to their approach, which led to a historic offense a year ago. They slugged 500 as a team. They scored 950 runs just about. And tied the record for most homers. So I don't know that they needed to change much, but year to year, the variance and the regression or whatever else you want to chalk it up to, I don't know. It's taken a bigger bite out of the Braves than seemingly just about any other club in baseball. And again, to kind of sound like a broken record, they're trying to find the answers. They're just not very apparent.
Hey, we had John before the trade deadline. I think it was July 22nd. So what did you think of the moves that they made? Like, were you a fan of them bringing in Soler and taking on a good chunk of the money? And where did you think they missed? So, like, what did you like? What did you not like?
I think that the Soler move made sense for him, and this trade deadline, and I know we talked about this a lot before. I mean, what was the playoff picture going to look like? Who are the sellers going to be? What's going to be available? This was not, aces galore moving. This was not high impact players that were getting traded right, left, and center. It was a lot of, I think, ancillary pieces, a lot of back end starters. Relievers, of course, got traded around, but I didn't look at any other trades and feel like, hey, the Braves missed out on this guy, and this guy. I did wonder once Max Fried hit the IL and Reynaldo Lopez also was dealing with an arm issue, if maybe they'd re-examine their need for another starter. They decided to pass on that. Given some of the prospect packages for some of those starters, I can understand that. But that was a decision, a choice, and a move that now it seems like, you might want to do over again. I don't know. But I can also look and tell you, before this 5 days, the Braves had the best ERA in baseball. The Brewers series was pretty awful, and that obviously took a bite out of it. But pitching really hasn't been their problem. So I say all that to say they needed to address their offense. Getting Harris back will help. Soler seems to fit. He hadn't played a lot of outfield, though, and that's been apparent in the last week. But they needed somebody that could get on base and maybe generate some power at the top of the order, ignite things. It's worked before, and Soler's been able to succeed in that role, and he was doing it for the Giants as well. Taking on the money, I think, was just something that had to be the cost of doing business because Alex Anthopoulos knew he needed to do something for this offense, something for this outfield, and I feel like he pulled off the deal that made the most sense for the Braves, and I didn't see anybody else getting traded around that felt like a big miss for the Braves, if that makes sense from the outfield picture.
Yeah, I want to talk about this pitching staff because you're right. You talk about the first half, the pitching was just outstanding. And going back to the last 5 days, like you said, now we're coming up on a stretch where no starter has pitched into the fifth inning, which is somewhat of a problem that can be problematic when you talk about taxing a bullpen as well. So with the injuries, right, they are what they are. Where are they looking to get some help? We're looking to get some length from, is it a couple younger guys from AAA? Like, who are they going to rely on to try to help keep them in this mix? Because right now, I know they've been great, but baseball is a what have you done for me lately sport. Who's the guy that's going to stop this bleeding, or who are one of the guys other than Chris Sale that they feel like they might have a chance to rely on?
Yeah, I mean, the rookie Spencer Schwellenbach has stepped in and done some big things for the Braves. That was, talk about an off-the-page storyline that you wouldn't have anticipated in spring training. He's been a great one. Now, if you're looking back down on the farm, clearly Bryce Elder's had some ups and downs this year, again, after a tough second half a year ago. A.J. Smith-Shawver and Ian Anderson are probably the next two guys that I think could factor into this rotation, especially if they want to continue doing the strategy of trying to get as many extra days of rest for Chris Sale currently and Reynaldo Lopez when he's active, because I do think that that's benefited both men. I don't know that that's going to be the way that they're going to try to do it year over year over year, but the strategy made a lot of sense given that Reynaldo Lopez hadn't thrown over 100 innings since 2019, and we all know that Chris Sale had been through 5 very challenging years. And it wasn't a bad idea to give him that little bit of extra rest and recovery time. But the numbers game, I mean, getting Fried back helps, but he wasn't sharp first time out. But I think that could obviously change. We know what Max Fried is. Charlie Morton has had a Jekyll and Hyde month of July, and really the last start against the Brewers in the finale, that was one of those where you really needed something big from the vet and you didn't get it. But it's not just one guy, and this pitching staff needs some help. And I do think Ian Anderson coming back from Tommy John could be one answer. And obviously, A.J. Smith-Shawver is their number one pitching prospect. He could factor into this down the stretch as well.
Hey, Grant, I've got a question from Tim in the chat, just asking about the state of the Braves farm system. So where do you think they're at in terms of resources? And I'm guessing maybe this question had something to do with the trade deadline, because I know the Braves don't necessarily have the big-time names right now to pull off a deal for a huge name. Let's just put a scenario out there. I know it didn't happen. If they were really going after Garrett Crochet because he's dealing this year and he costs nothing, I mean, he's very coveted, I don't know if they would be able to keep up with teams like the Dodgers and the Orioles in a competitive bid. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They don't have one of the top farm systems in baseball. They haven't really since a lot of these guys graduated and became stars, which, of course, is the sign of a successful farm system on the other side of that coin. But I do think they've done a better job of being able to draft some pitchers. They've got a lot of good young arms. Unfortunately, many of them seem to be further away from the big leagues, though I would have said the same thing about Spencer Schwellenbach at the start of the year. So who knows in some cases. But they've done a better job of drafting some arms. The international sanctions being lifted a couple of years ago, allowing them to sign some hitters. They've begun to develop a little bit there. So it seems like they've kind of risen to the middle of the pack. But no, it's not the crown jewels of Acuna and Albies and Dansby Swanson and Max Fried and Michael Soroka and all these other guys, Kyle Wright, that they had that made them that top farm system for a number of years. But they have done a better job of stocking it. I think where Alex Anthopoulos might run into some question is, they've had to slowly rebuild that farm system. They do have players, obviously, that they like, that they're developing. Did they want to waste them on a rental? I think no, they did not. But Garrett Crochet is a different animal. But then, as we saw around the trade deadline, the White Sox, how are they going to manage his innings for the remainder of the year? How much more does he have to give this season? And, of course, the public-facing comments of wanting an extension and not wanting to move to the bullpen and a lot of other things. That was a strange situation. So maybe some of that was just out of the control of Alex Anthopoulos and a number of other GMs, but I don't think that helped the White Sox in their marketing of what was probably the most coveted pitcher on the market, if in fact he were available, which I would assume that he was.
Interesting. You're talking about their farm system. Well, they're going to have to maybe, possibly with Charlie Morton and Max Fried being free agents, find arms. Do you think there's a possibility that either one of them comes back? And if not, where would you think that Max Fried would end up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think we've been asking the Max Fried question for a couple of years, the closer that he got to free agency. And it would seem like at this point, given the history of the last couple of years with Freddie Freeman, with Dansby Swanson, once you get to free agency, all bets are off. Even if you are a player who fit extremely well in what the Braves were doing, they have signed a lot of extensions to players who were years away from free agency. Fried wasn't one of those guys. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him being a California guy. Would he want to go back out there? He was drafted by the Padres, grew up a Dodgers fan. Clearly, those are a couple of clubs that don't mind spending some money. Charlie Morton's a year-to-year thing, and I don't know that you can continue to plan on that year after year as well. So whether or not they can get some of these young pitchers to step into those places, whether or not maybe the offseason's a better time to explore a trade for a Garrett Crochet or somebody else, they're going to have to address it. Chris Sale helped, and Chris Sale has been terrific. But, yeah, the Braves rotation could lose two pretty significant contributors over the past few years, and none bigger than Max Fried. And I know there were people that said, hey, they should just go ahead and sell Fried right now if they're not going to re-sign him. Then my question would be, on a club that's supposed to be in a window of contention, how do you replace Max Fried while you're trying to get to the playoffs? That math didn't work for Alex Anthopoulos either, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, that would have been a tough sell to the fan base because there have been crazier scenarios. Let's remember, it is August 9th. Grant, what was the record? You probably have it memorized of the Atlanta Braves on whatever that magic day was when they in August in 2021. They were what? 2 games under? You probably know that stat better. What was the stat?
They did not get over 500 to stay until I believe it was August the 13th in 2021. So stranger things have happened, and we're right around that little mark right here. But as much as people, and myself included, can look at that and use it for part of the context, we all know years like 2021, those are not the rule. Those are the exception. Those are the outlier. That's what makes them special. But it's baseball. You get hot at the right time. Who in the world knows what could happen in October? Because as I've said this before as well, who walked into spring training in 2023 and said, can't wait for the Rangers and the Diamondbacks to meet in the World Series in October?
Nobody. Zero people put that together with all seriousness. So the Braves have 4 days to get it together. That's basically the point here. Okay?
Sounds like it.
We're on the 9th. Yeah. Grant, this was awesome. Thanks for jumping back in. Yeah, 4 days. There's plenty of time to fix everything. Give Grant a follow at Grant McAuley. We'll post some of these. Grant, appreciate you. We'll talk soon, okay?
Appreciate you. Great to see you guys as always.
Yes, you too. Grant McAuley with us on FT. Be right back. And during the break here, if you're with us on YouTube, we will answer some fan questions. All right, let's start with Bob. Team you wanted to play for but didn't get a chance to. I like that question.
Who? Me?
Yeah, you can start.
I mean, no,
but there had to be one where you were like, damn, I wanted to play.
It was, bro. It was one team I wanted to play for my whole career. Probably one of my favorite teams to follow, and it was the Big Red Machine, bro. I always wanted to be a Cincinnati Red and never had a chance to. I grew up playing in Midland, Ohio for a group called the Midland Redskins, a prestigious group, but I never got a chance to put that uniform on.
I nailed mine. Listen, I grew up a Braves fan. I got to play my last 2 years with the Braves. I mean, the only other one that would have been close was Tampa, just because it would have been super close to home. But I know
Yeah.
guys that went there that were from Orlando area, and they were like, yeah, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So, yeah, I mean, I nailed mine when I got to go to the Braves for 2 years and just live it up. Even though we sucked, it was still fun.
It was fun though. It was a good time.
We sucked, but we had a good time sucking.
All right, let's do one more. AJ, you can start this one. Owl asked, did you have the dream before you reached the majors? What I mean by dream is a premonition that one day you'd be in the field with a big crowd, like at the major league level. I'm assuming that's a pretty easy answer.
I think everybody probably had that dream, right? You're going up in the backyard and you're like, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. Cam Maybin up, Pierzynski catching. He calls a slider. Cam swings and misses. We win. Hell yeah. Let's go.
Fastball in, slider away. Got him.
Yeah, it works every time. It's weird how that works out. Yeah, no, of course you did,
good.
man. If you, as a kid, of course you had to do that. I mean, that was like the highlight of, everyone has the, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs, Game 7 of the World Series in the backyard. He throws a wiffle ball and you hit it out of the park. Of course, you always have those dreams. You're just not ever sure if it's going to come true until it actually does.
Absolutely. I wrote a book when I was in the first grade. Apparently, saying that I wanted to be a professional baseball player for the Asheville Tourists. That's the local minor league team here. So again, like AJ said, young dreams. And then I want to say at 15, I got the tattoo. So I had
no way.
choice.
15?
For that Midland Redskins team. It was an 18U team. Went to a tattoo parlor with a couple of my 18-year-old buddies at 15. So the guy didn't check my ID. I ended up getting that tattoo, and my dad was like, "You better make it to the show." What are you doing?
That's good. Oh, free game of the day is back. Streaming on the BetMGM app. Live streaming available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. So let's show Friday and Sunday. Friday, you can get the Ryne Stanek Bowl. That's today, Mets and Mariners. And then on Sunday, you can watch the Orioles and Rays for free inside the BetMGM app. There you go. Let's go over locks, shall we? Hey, Cam. Congrats, dude.
Let's go. Let's
Nice.
go.
Were you sweaty?
Woo!
I saw that 9-1 win for the Mets.
Palms are sweating. Hey, are you kidding me? 9-1. They tried their best, man.
Just snuck under the 10.5 and nailed his SGP. I got myself a little Angels dub, and then AJ. What happened there?
Gibson had 6 strikeouts.
6
Gibson
Ks.
had
You got
6
hooked.
strikeouts. Damn, yeah.
I liked that narrative too about the Rays getting a little more contact involved again, right?
Yeah,
I'm
Gibson
playing
didn't
to that a little.
strike out a ton of guys. But
Yeah,
well.
yeah. All right, so
I'm still
let's
up
get back
more than
on
all
track.
you suckers.
Yeah, okay. So before you stay hot, let's get Jonathan Papelbon chiming in on a Friday. Where in the world is Parlay Pap?
FT fan, what's up? It's your boy Parlay Pap coming to you live in Boston. We got the Astros Red Sox tonight, but before that, I'm gonna give you a lock of the day, 2-game parlay, Orioles and Royals money line, parlay them together. I love the Lorenzen matchup tonight, and I also love Zach Eflin going up against his old team in the Rays. You know, anytime an old player goes up against his former team, he wants to whoop that ass. So we going Orioles, Royals, lock them in. 2-game parlay for a hundo. Let's get that cheese.
Go get it, Pap. Go get it.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what lobby he's in. Oh, he's in the set?
I was in Mississippi. For the last 5 days. I didn't see one mention of Jonathan Papelbon, so I think he's losing his touch.
No one's talking about Pap down there?
Nope. Only in Boston.
That's the mayor. All right, Cam, you want to start off with your pick here with this crew?
I'm good and ready, man. Back in the money. Back on looking up. $100 down. Listen, we're going with the Blue Jays money line at home over the total runs, 8.5. And Jose Berrios, yes, over 5.5 Ks today against the Oakland A's. Give me the Blue Jays. Let's get even. Let's go.
So you're putting a hundo down and it's plus 675.
We about to make some bread, baby.
AJ, your follow?
I can't follow that. I can't follow the plus 675 piece.
That's
I'm
bold.
going small today. I'm going heavy AL East. I'm going Blue Jays over the Oakland, and I'm going the Yankees over the Rangers tonight. I think Rodon pitches well. That is a parlay, 2-team win parlay. Gets me to 157. So just 100 to win 157. Baby steps before I go big and catch all y'all fools.
I was tempted to go with the Eflin K prop because he's going against the old squad, but AJ kind of talked me out of it, even though we didn't actually chat about it. But the Rays contact improving a little bit, and Eflin's actually got a lot of 3 strikeout games on his ledger recently. So I just went with Baltimore beating Tampa Bay in the Zach Eflin Bowl back against the former club. He's probably pissed because he signed with the Rays for, I think, the same money as what Boston offered him. But he's like, I want to be close to home. And then they were like, see ya, you're going to the Northeast. And then I've got under 10 runs. I think it's a good pitching matchup. Eflin against Littell. I think they'll feed off each other, the former teammates. So plus 120. It's a plus Friday. And I'm going to Hundo. Just Hundo to win a 120. See what happens. Plus, remember, yes?
I already won today, apparently. The Yankees game is rained out, so I already won. So I'm already up $50.
Well, you just get split in half. It's a parlay. So
No, I won.
now you're
No, I won. I won because
just,
the Yankees, with the home field advantage, the home field advantage counts for half a run. So therefore I won.
Well, the Yankees certainly do not like playing in the rain. If you watched their game yesterday, which I nailed on that Angels win, as you listened to NYY recaps, our guy Derek talking about it. I listened to the show last night. It did not look like they wanted to play ball and get wet. All right, let's go to the BetMGM. Yeah, right. I mean, there was not a lot of effort there. Angels look like a team that was
weak. I'm glad you mentioned that before the show. They were tiptoeing around. It's water. Let's go.
I don't want to get hurt. Well, it's
yeah,
a bunch of
my God.
veteran, high-priced dudes.
Wow, Scott. Wow, Scott. For someone that's never been on the field,
he is not lying, bro.
Easy.
It was tiptoeing out there like, dude, let's go.
Derek had a great line. He's like, if you guys don't want to play the game and you're so worried about having to fly back at the end of the year, you're going on a private plane, you get paid tons of money, then just bang the game and play it at the end of the year if it's necessary. And I'm with you, Derek. It's not like we're asking dudes, he said, to do hard labor in Siberia or something like that. So anyway, BetMGM has paid out over $1 million in bonus bets so far in this Grand Slam jackpot. So every weekend, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, if you place a $10 or more wager on any player to hit a homer, then that player hits a Grand Slam on that day. They can win $50,000 daily prize or a share of the prize with every other winning bettor in bonus bets. So go check that out. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're going to be right back to Slap. And I'm going to go play in the rain. I'm going to a festival this weekend. I'll be out there.
One guy we know is coming back. We can kind of start spinning it forward. Mookie Betts, the plan has been laid out there. Mookie Betts returns to this lineup next week. He's playing shortstop, and he's hitting in that 2-hole with Ohtani staying in the leadoff spot. What do you like about the Mookie plan, and will he stay at shortstop for the rest of the season?
I love the fact that he is in the 2-hole. I love the fact that they are keeping Shohei in the leadoff spot. That I commend. I don't know. We've discussed this before. It's easy for me to plan out the defense, right? To write out the lineup card and plan the defense. I think Mookie should go back to the outfield. I think he's incredibly valuable there. I think there's enough middle infielders that can really play a good shortstop, meaning Miguel Rojas, Gavin Lux, keep him at second base, figure out what the hell you're doing at third. And I think Mookie is really, really good in the outfield. I think you leave Teoscar, to your point, because you didn't think Teoscar was a center fielder. So I'll trust you. Leave Teoscar in right, put Mookie in center, because I do feel like Mookie is a good enough athlete to cover that much ground. Kevin Kiermaier's in left. I know Kevin struggles with the bat recently, but I'll take Kevin's defense in left all day long. But that's what they're doing. Dave Roberts said when Mookie returns, he'll play shortstop at second. I understand that. I just think that why do that? They're struggling to get production from their outfield, with the exception of Teoscar. So put Mookie back, and until there's a necessity to put him back in the infield, why do you necessarily need to do that? Why do you think Dave wants him back at short?
I think this is setting up for some potential versatility for Mookie when we get later into the season. Ultimately, when the season is over and we're getting into October, I'll have some fun and say if the Dodgers make it, sorry, spoiler, they're going to make it. I think he's going to be in right field, and I think center field was going to end up being Tommy Edman, and then in left field it will be Teoscar Hernandez, where left field is by far his worst defensive position. Well, you could argue center field, but the numbers say he's not great in left field, but he's still very serviceable in left field. But the best version, if Dave says the best version of this team, having all the guys in the right spot to make the best version of this team, the best spot is going to be Mookie Betts. And he said recently he'll play wherever is needed.
Okay, let's slap. I'm just throwing it out there. You can deflect it, but some fans have been really into it. Some fans are like, what? You're deflecting it? Some fans are like, I'm sick of talking about the White Sox this week. But since our show from yesterday, we did get public comments from the GM, Chris Getz, saying that they're going to spend money this offseason, and he started making – you didn't catch that part?
You didn't say that. I thought he said they were not going to spend money this offseason.
Well, while we chat, I'll get you the exact quote. But he also spoke about you personally and said he's looking for, I guess, a major league coach. But then he also already said Grady Sizemore, unless I caught that one wrong, is not going to be a candidate because he's looking for someone outside of the org. So any thoughts there while I get the exact quote about the payroll?
I answered this yesterday on the radio. They played the quotes for me, and I was like, and he's like, that's not the criteria. What's the criteria? I said this earlier. What the heck's the criteria? Someone come out and tell me the criteria for what you're looking for. I don't know. It's easy to say, what this or that or blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I hope Chris gets it right, though. Please get it right.
I'm looking for the quote. I'm going to get it before we get off here. I'm working on it. Claims, here it is. The headline on CBS, Jerry Reinsdorf, or White Sox GM claims that owner will spend on free agents, all part of this plan that's in place. And I'm looking for the quote as we go. Okay, here we go. Gets told reporter Sam Blum in an interview, there's going to be times when we're going to have to tap into some financial resources to go after free agents, report infrastructure and technology, and continue to expand and strengthen our front or departments throughout the organization. That's all part of this plan that's in place.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to pull the Scott Braun from yesterday. I don't even know what you just read. I'm like, AJ, what does that even mean? Because it started out like you said, we want to spend money, but then it regressed to like, but actually, I don't know if we are. It's like I don't know how to take that.
My whole thing is this: is like, when are they going to spend money? They're gonna spend money next year when they're not going to be good either. So they're just going to try to be the Royals and just throw money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to spend the money smart, but they also don't have Bobby Witt Jr. walking through the door either on that team. So they don't have Sal Perez on that team, right? They don't have some of the guys. They don't have Pasquatch already there. They don't have some dudes that are already there. So you got to get those dudes before you go spend the money and waste it. And the quote I heard was, and I've talked to people, and I thought Chris Getz said, we're going to pare the payroll down even more. So whatever it's at this year, I heard it was going to be like 90 to 100 next year. So I don't know where that quote came from, but when I talked to people about what Chris Getz said yesterday, I was told he said we're going to put it down to like 90 to 100 and then work our way back up.
So what does their farm system look like, AJ? Because where does the rebuild start, bro? Like, when you say that, I'm with you, but I'm like, where? Like, what do you? Because again, you talk about the Royals. The Royals, they had some young dudes, but man, you talk about it all the time, AJ. Veteran leadership. Hey, you got to have a good mix of veteran leadership with youthful talent. It's like, I just don't know what the direction is, bro. I'm exhausted thinking about it.
I don't know. I just hope Chris gets the higher rate. That's all I can say. They got some good arms, I guess, down there. They're offensive player wise in the minor leagues, I think, is a little bit short from what you read. Again, I don't know. I'm not a minor league expert, but listen, I just hope Chris gets this higher rate.
Yeah. All right. And then on the positive side of things, some quickie injury notes with a minute left. You've got, I think Merrill Kelly's probably coming back this weekend for the Diamondbacks. That's huge. Muncy and Tommy Edman are expected to play in rehab games this weekend for the Dodgers. Plus, Buehler put together a pretty nice start in AAA the other day. Did you see that? He's going to join the team after this one. 5 innings, a little over, I think it was 5 1/3, 5 Ks. Walked the first batter, retired next 13 in order in 15 of 17. So I miss Walker Buehler on the mat. I just like watching him pitch. He's like the gutsy gamer, bulldog type.
Let's not get too excited.
All right, let's see what happens.
Triple A gap, big league gap.
True.
Calm down, Kratz. Kratz will be here to pump up the minor leagues next week, okay? Let's calm down.
Everybody be careful in the rain. Don't slip this weekend.